Now that we're back, let's take a look at this question here of equivalent. And so I want you to think about why 3/4 and 6/8 are equivalent, right? If we were in class, you'd be able to compare that with other peers. But so think about that before I show you my answer. Take a quick pause, think about that. Okay, now that you're back, here's the way I represented it. Here is a hole in blue, 2 holes. They're both the same. And then what I drew up is 3/4, 3 parts of the force here. In here I have 6/8. And so when you look at it, you'll see they're equivalent. They have the same amount. And so that's one way to think about it. And as we go on in this section, I want you to take a couple of minutes to read the next few pages here and really start to understand this idea of a fraction a over b, right? Where is it located and how that is related to the fraction 1 over b. And then again, as before we proceed with computational things, right? It's important to realize that a fraction is as numerals or as numbers, right? And so noticing that's an important piece, because not only is it parts to whole, but it's some value. And in this case, 1/4 describes the relative amount of the shaded region. So go ahead and do that. Pause. Now that you're back again, I want to go revisit this idea that you read about, like what is 3/4? What's this situation? So I want, in this picture here, you can see the way we want to see 3/4 is that 3/4 is 3 groups of 1/4. Right? How many 1/4 do you see? I see 1, 2, 3. So 3/4 is 3 groups of 1/4, and that's that idea of a over b is a 1 over b times, or sorry, 1 over b 8 times. Same thing here. Here's 6/8, but someone can also say, oh, I see 6 groups of 1/8. So that becomes important to realize that that's what a fraction is as we look at that. Go ahead and think about this question here. 2 fractions. Jasmine says that one with the smaller numerator is smaller. Is she correct? So for example, if we were going to compare 2/3 compared to 3/8, in her mind, Jasmine thinks that this is smaller because of the numbers. And this is something that students struggle with, because the numbers, they think of them as whole numbers. But we know that 2/3, again, is bigger than 3/8, because if you go ahead and show what 3/8 is, here is force, here is your eighths, so here is 3/8, and then if you break this into thirds, there's 2/3, right? So 2/3 is not smaller than 3/8, so that's what we're looking at there. And then go on, you were continuing to read a little bit more about the different models we have here. When you're looking at, again, parts to whole relationships, we have these different models that we look at. Region models, we use geometric shapes to kind of describe fractions. We also have fraction strips, which in class we use fraction strips. Again, when 2 fractions represent the same relative amount, they're equivalent. Okay, same relative amount in relationship to. So these are all 1/4 here are all equivalent fractions. And so you want to make sure you're aware of that.